Over the last couple of months, I've been trying out some of astrophotography's forbidden gear. These are the much cheaper and heavily under-researched products that have the potential to provide you a similar level of quality as the main name brands, but at a fraction of the price. In today's video, I'm going to be putting 6 super low-cost Astro replacements up against their more popular counterparts. Are these affordable alternatives really worth it, or is this just a starry-eyed dream? Let's find out. I'm Damon Scotting, and this is Astronomical. First up, we need to focus. This is a make or break aspect of our observations. The tiniest adjustment in your focus can have the most dramatic effects on your images. So do we leave it up to our naked eyes to squint and tell us what looks like the sharpest view, or do we utilize the assistance of autofocusers like these? Electronic autofocusers have been around for years now. The first editions simply employed clockwise and anti-clockwise adjustments at variable speeds, but then they leveled up as they were able to function alongside the rest of our gear. You can now correct the focus of your scope via your computer. In fact, you can even gauge the temperature outside and modify the focus accordingly. But perhaps the biggest step up is that you can now ask your electronic focuser to perfectly pinpoint your stars for you. You no longer have to make your own subjective decision on what looks best. The focuser will use its own mathematical formula to figure it out for you. As nights go on, the temperature can vary. So too can a lot of things, including the perfect focus of your telescope. With an EAF, you can set it to automatically correct the focus as often as you like. So they are undeniably super helpful pieces of kit, and given the simplicity behind the structural design and its purpose, they must be relatively cheap, right? Come on, this is astrophotography we are talking about. Companies will charge you an extra £100 for a power bank simply because they know some of you can afford it. I've recently had the pleasure of being loaned a ZWO EAF, which is arguably one of the top focusers available on the market. Simple design, powerful function, which is why users will fork out almost $200 to get one. But what if there was a cheaper alternative available, perhaps at a cost of £69? This is our first affordable alternative, the Gemini Autofocuser. For a pre-tax cost of £69, I have received a wonderful piece of kit that comes with some very useful accessories of its own. Upon opening the box, I was greeted with a focuser itself, mounting tools, a remote control, a signal receiver, and a temperature sensor. These last two components are not included with the ZWO EAF, but can be purchased for an additional fee of... that's not great. Yeah, you could almost buy a second Gemini focuser for that. I am starting to get a bit more experience now with focusers. In fact, I've recently purchased a ToupTek AAF from AliExpress for just over half the price of the ZWO EAF. In keeping with the matching colour schemes, I'm going to attach my Gemini focuser to my newest scope, the Askar SQA-85. This telescope has been sent to me for a review by Sharp Star, and its space grey colour scheme fits perfectly alongside the Gemini. In case you are wondering how complex it is to install the focuser, here's a 60-second walkthrough. First thing you're going to do is find the tightening screw located inside the coarse adjustment screw of your telescope and loosen that up a little bit until the coarse adjustment just slides off. Now we're looking to simply replace this with our autofocuser, so in order to do so we're going to select one of the 3 flexible couplings provided in the box. Then we're going to be sure to loosen the screws properly before tightening them to secure it to our focuser. And as you can see, we're already halfway through the process. Next, do the exact same thing in order to attach the focuser to the other end of the flexible coupling. Lastly, in order to ensure the electronic autofocuser can apply the necessary torque to your telescope focuser, we need to fix it in using the mounting bracket provided. Don't forget to also use the washers that are included in this little bag. And there we go. That was the so-called hard part, but it really didn't take very long. It certainly looks the part and doesn't at all stand out in comparison to the blue and white hybrid ToupTek Askar setup or the red and black ZWO rig. So let's plug in the additional attachments. The remote control is very handy and the temperature sensor is super useful. It's nice to see both of these included in the listing, or at the very worst, an additional $8 fee for the pair of them. That's excellent value, especially compared to, well, yeah. It certainly looks the part, relatively similar dimensions and weight. The big difference, of course, is the cost. There is a huge disparity between astrophotographers saying they have a budget of $200 for a telescope, and then you have some of us dropping $200 alone on this little box that enacts such a simple process. I plugged the data cable into a power bank and tested to see how well it responded to the remote control. And yeah, it runs and responds very smoothly. a worthy adversary to the ZWO EAF and the ToupTek AAF, but available for far less. It is supported by Nina, and you can download the driver from the product page that I've linked in the description below. So there we go, product number 1 of the cheap versus expensive tests, and cheap comes out on top with ease. Next up, we have a race between two of the fastest scopes in the galaxy. The £500 limited release Skywatcher HAC125 versus a £2,000 Celestron 8-inch RASA telescope. Now, I was briefly blessed with an 8-inch Celestron RASA telescope in order to conduct a short review, and I have to say, it is a very exciting telescope that produced some beautiful images. It has since been a telescope that I've heavily admired and wish to spend more time with, but at £2,000 it's not exactly an affordable second telescope setup. But imagine if we could employ a similar speedy principle at a much more affordable price. This has got to be one of the most divisive telescopes this year. Surely the Marmite of new telescopes. You either love it or you hate it, and in my case I really love it. I've already done full-length reviews of a lot of the products featured in today's video, so if you are keen on learning even more about them, check out my channel for more. But in order to cut to the chase, the scope's excellent. It's so fast that it can record these bright live videos of our night sky. But due to its design, it is only compatible with lipstick style cameras, and the collimation and focus of the scope is nothing short of a nightmare. If you've got the patience to play with it, then I don't think there are many more fun telescopes out there on the market. This is practically a dream telescope for astronomy outreach. Imagine how engaging your audience will find stargazing when you can zip between targets at a moment's notice and bring them live views of anything their heart desires. Bright stars, star clusters, nebulae, binary stars and galaxies. Basically everything. I am loving mine so far, however the images captured with it are a bit of an eyesore that needs some, let's say, heavy corrections when it comes to the post-processing of the images. But with a little care, you can capture beautiful images of the universe like this, faster than ever. Undoubtedly, the images captured with the Celestron 8-inch RASA are better, of course they are. So for this comparison, cheap isn't necessarily better. It's a simple case of, you get what you pay for. Therefore this race ends in a tie. Now what if we cancel the prices out in our equation, because both products turn out to be basically the same price? Well then what possible case could you have for exploring the less reviewed option over the most popular? Easy, it's all about accessibility. This is the Astrostation, an ASI Air wannabe. The ASI Air is a mini PC that allows you to control practically your entire rig from one device. It's a simple and incredibly well laid out design. But it has one major flaw, and that is by choice. It does not want to play with others. ZWO are one of the biggest astrophotography equipment producers in the world. Their product list expands well beyond mini PCs. It's because of this that they have taken the opportunity to severely restrict the compatibility of their super helpful mini PC to just ZWO products, which is a huge moral issue that the vast majority of astrophotographers are up in arms about, and rightfully so. You can only use ZWO cameras and a ZWO focuser with the ASI Air, which means the market is crying out for an all-in-one, friendly mini PC that accepts all types of gear. Could this be the answer to our prayers? Nope. This is the Astrostation, and right now it is in the beta stage of its development, yet for some reason available for customers to purchase on websites such as AliExpress. I was very eager to try this one out, and upon first impression it looked like the real deal, but I found it to be severely lacking in its lack of interactive sky atlas that features a field of view simulator like the ZWO, and its ability to live stack your images, let alone stack them at all. It's just not quite there yet. The idea is there, which is great. Competition is the key to better products at lower prices, but I can see why they haven't fully released this mini PC yet, as it is still very limited in comparison to the ASI Air. Its only improvement is its ability to accept a wider range of products. If the price was cheaper, I would still be able to argue its case, but I mean as it stands, I'm seeing the price of these at more than that of the ASI Air, which unfortunately means the scores are now tied. It's one apiece in this test of cheap versus expensive astro gear. Perhaps this next item will swing things back in favour of the cheap side. A Pier extension is an essential piece of gear, especially when using big refractor telescopes. The issue of your telescope clipping your tripod legs is extremely dangerous and yet frustratingly common. When I received a loan of an AM5 mount from ZWO, I decided to also ask for one of their PE200 Pier extensions. And yeah, in hindsight, this is an essential piece of kit. I actually went and bought another one because I found it so crucial to my setup, and attached each of them to my home-built Pier mounts. So £189 for a crucial bit of added height. Given the worth of the payload it is supporting, I'm more than comfortable paying at least £100. This is one of the times that I do agree with the old saying, the cheapest is the dearest, because the thought of watching my gear crash under the collapse of a less than sufficient Pier extension would be beyond devastating. But here is our competitor. A very affordable, structurally sound extension column that is compatible with a range of tripods, including the TC40 often included alongside AM5 mounts. My verdict on this one is very simple. It's perfect. It does the job. It weighs just 1.1 kg, but it handles itself very well. The biggest payload I've had on it so far was roughly 18 kilograms, and it's done just fine. Sticking with the topic of mounts, what is this lovely looking blue beauty?
Wow!
A similarly designed telescope mount to the widely popular AM5. This is the mysterious Juwei-17 Mount, and it is raising eyebrows across the hobby. Why? Well, it's doing the same job as a £2,000 AM5 mount, but at less than half the cost. I think it's fair to say that we're all very wary over buying the new, untested gear from relatively unverified sellers overseas. There's a lot of justifications for being cautious. It's common to have the preconceived notion that it surely has to be too good to be true. But as someone who has owned this mount now for almost 2 months, I can verify that it's been working very well. My biggest issue with it is the lack of an additional DC power port to redirect some of your power to other aspects of your rig, such as your camera or mini PC. But the guiding results speak for themselves. It walks the walk. I suspect that this mount will soon become a very common purchase for more advanced astrophotographers to use as their backup mount. But I certainly believe that out of all of the items featured so far in today's video, the Juwei-17 currently represents the best value savings when it comes to purchasing the cheap versus expensive options. If you would like to read more about other users' experience with the Juwei-17 mount, then be sure to watch my full review video, as many astrophotographers have given their own personal views on it. I'm very impressed with the mount so far, and I can happily say at this point it was worth the gamble of trying something relatively under-reviewed. Then, lastly, to finish things off, I tried the suspected upcoming Celestron refractor telescope range. Celestron are a more than well-established, reputable telescope company who release a variety of well-made products. But oddly enough, this telescope kept popping up all over marketplaces like AliExpress, with seemingly official advertising documents, and yet there's no word from Celestron on an upcoming refractor range. Regardless, I decided to take a chance on their cheapest telescope from this range, a Celestron 63 ED. These are a couple of the images I captured with it, and yeah, I can't complain too much about the quality given that it is a telescope priced at under £300. But there isn't a perfectly like-for-like telescope on the market right now for me to compare it to. I'm in talks at the moment with a very nice chap at Auto Astro about reviewing their budget-friendly Starwave 60 ED, available at £379. This should make for an excellent comparison with the Celestron 63 ED. Like I said, the images captured with it were impressive enough for me to think that this was a worthy inclusion as a footnote in this video. I did pit it against the SV Bonnie 70mm in a recent video, and even my viewers struggled to pick out a clear winner between the two. I guess this one will for now at least remain a draw. So there we have it. At the end of our competition, we have 3 for cheap, 2 for draw, and 1 for expensive. Which one of today's products do you think offers the best bang for your buck? And please, 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 if you have purchased any of the items in today's video and used them for yourself, let me and thousands of other keen astrophotographers know about your personal experience so far. Competition is good. Astrophotography is shockingly anti-budget friendly. With products like the ones featured in today's video, amateur astrophotographers can start assembling very powerful rigs for cheaper than ever, which is of course very exciting. I've attached links to all of the products featured in today's video in the description below. Thanks for watching. I'm Damon Scotting, and this was Astronomical.